going to be doing it a bit different today. As you know, I'm going to be talking about odd time signatures and time signatures in general. And I'm going to play live guitar because it's just easier to show some things. And I'll have also, let me just quickly switch to a different view to show you what I mean. So today I made a template of different time signatures that I want to talk about. And I will show them by playing them live and also then counting. So then I think it's easier for you guys to follow, and it's also easier for me to on the spot, on the fly, to play something. So if things are going too fast, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt or to ask any questions in between. Maybe I can answer it on the spot, or maybe I need to park it until later. The only thing that I would like to ask is if the audio of the guitar is too soft or if it doesn't come through, please let me know. But I think it should be okay. So mostly I'll be playing this this old acoustic guitar. Nothing special, but probably it will do the trick. Let me see if it's in tune. Okay. So it is. So maybe sometimes you'll not be able to see the neck while I'm playing, but in any case, that's not important for today. The counting and what you will see on the screen will be important. So I need to assume that people who are joining today, that they do know what time signatures are. But I also need to, and also what odd time signatures are. But I cannot skip some of the theory behind it. So I'll just jump in so that I can have everybody on board. Quickly by explaining, how to read different time signatures and what they actually are. So, for example, here we have 4/4, and that means that we have 4 beats per measure, and that one beat lasts the length of a quarter note. So, for example, if I go down, here I have an example that I'll play later on in a 5/4 time signature. And again, so we have 5 quarter notes in one bar, so 5 beats in one bar, and we have, and the one beat is the length of a quarter note, and that will change later as well. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining. I'll try to keep my eye on the chat every now and then as well, just to stay back. Right. So, and also, as I just said, if you have any questions, if things are going too fast, be sure to let me know, and then I can try to answer them on the spot. And once I finish the story for the odd time signatures, there's room for questions from your side. If you have any things that you've been working on, that you have any questions about, or topics that you find interesting. So without further ado, I'll just continue, and people will join in live stream. So just let me know if this is reaching you correctly, the audio. Just let me know if that reaches you okay, and let me know in the chat. And I will continue. I'll first tell my story. So what I want to show you is, because the chord progression for all the examples will be the same. And why did I do that? Okay, super. Thanks for letting me know. So why did I keep the chord progression the same for all the examples? Well, because then you'll have good comparison material. So if I change the tune every time, you don't know where the differences are. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play this one in normal 4/4 time signature. And what I'm going to do is in 4/4 time signature, I'm going to divide it into two equal groups. So 2 equal groups, 2 quarter notes. As you can see here, we have 4 quarter notes in one bar. But my accents are going to be on the first beat and on the third beat. So I'll play the whole progression. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So that was more or less accents on the 1 and the 3, and it was actually very subtle. But now, what I want to show you, because now this would be about odd time signatures, I'm going to jump in on the 5/4 time signature. And I think this concept of odd time signatures was quite daunting for me in the beginning. Remember, I did not understand it that well. It took me quite some time. Well, it's actually quite simple. And in this case, we have, of course, let me break these open. Here, let me show them in rests. Because in music, what you want to do is when you have any bar, any time signature, you want it to make it sound musical. And how do you make it sound musical? How do you make music breathe? That's by putting different accents on different beats. Because otherwise, it would sound very boring, and it would be like this, So there's no accents, there's no life in it. So what you want to do is you want to divide these 5 notes, or these 5 beats actually. You want to divide them, in this case, into 2 groups. But we cannot divide them equally because, of course, we have 5 beats. So what you want to do in this case, I'm going to divide it into a group of 3 beats. So 1, 2, 3, that will be one group. And I'm going to divide it in a group of 2 beats. So, and again, I'm going to change that you see it actually how it looks here. We have a half note with a dot behind it, and we have a half note. So if I play it with in 5/4 time signature, but in 2 groups, and the accents will be on the first beat and on the 4th beat. We have 3 and 2. It will be like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's how you divide it. So you have 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. And if we would not do that, you would just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be a bit monotonous, so to speak. So if everything about that is clear, I want to also quickly play to you what it would sound like if I would have the accent the first and on the 3rd beat. So what I did now is I switched them. So now we have the group of 2. We have them in the beginning, and then the group of 3. We have them at the end. So now it would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If I would count it in 5, let's say, then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me try that on the guitar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and what I can understand, if you have a question, why would you want to have uneven time signatures, odd time signatures? Because actually, they're a bit more difficult to play along to because you need to count. It's not as easy as when you're in 4/4, where you can just play. you can just play along without really noticing what you're doing, and just play along with the band. When you're dealing with odd time signatures, it's always a bit more difficult because you need to stay sharp and focused. But what you want to, why would you want to do this is because odd time signatures, they give a bit more movement to the metrum, to rhythm piece actually. And because you're always dealing with odd time signatures, you're always dealing with an equal group, and also then after that an odd group. So in this case, you would have, if I would start again with my first example, with the 3 beats and then the 2 beats. So the 3 beats is longer, and then the 2 beats, it feels like it's cut off. You know, it's like normally you would count this to 6, when you would have 6/4. So let me first count it as if it is 6/4. You have so then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But now, because it's 5/4, you're going to take out 1 beat. So that's going to cut it short. And that's going to propel the music, that's going to propel the energy a bit more forward. So now you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, you know, so it's always cut off. So that propels the energy a bit forward. And if you have this throughout the whole song, you already have some kind of framework which creates motion. And that's very interesting about dealing with odd time signatures. That it just and also melodically, you need to take this into account, how you're going to do this, because also your melodies will need to deal with either this extra beat or with a beat taken out. How you pluck, for example, now I'm playing with the guitar, of course. So now how I pluck the chords, for example, is different. I need to take that into account. I need to I need to figure out how that's going to work. But there's another way how we could play the 5/4. I mean, there are a million ways, actually, not a million, but there are many ways that you could actually play a 5/4 time signature. So definitely, you need to be creative with them. But one way, which I've also heard in some music, is this way. So you treat it in a way as a 4/4 time signature. So here we have this one for the people who don't read notes that well. This one means that we have a whole rest. So that has, break it open. This one has four rests in it. Let me put it back again. So what do? I treated it as a 4/4, but then with one extra beat after it. So we would have, so with an extra beat after it. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2. So why I'm saying 1 is because to really show you that we actually have this extra beat. So if I would, for example, I'm just going to play it as if it was my 4/4 measure, but then add one stroke behind it, or one strum behind it. So then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And you can accentuate this with drums or with some other instrumentation if you're into music production. So you can really make that last beat. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. So you can really accentuate that extra beat. That I know that Soundgarden has quite a cool song, which is called it's the latest song. Of course, Chris Cornell was still alive. Crooked Steps or Wicked Steps. That's really a cool song, and that's in 5/4. And there they don't treat it that traditionally as I just showed you here. For example, this one is already less traditional, but these two up here, where you have either 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or when you have the other way around, where you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Those are quite traditional, and they're used a lot. So that's one of the first things you think about when you're in 5/4. You're like, okay, how is it divided in 2 and then 3, or is it divided in 3 and then 2? But of course, you should. It's it can give your music really something special, and also the listener will notice. You know, maybe the people who are, you know, the average audience who will listen to your music, they of course they'll probably not know like, oh, this is in 5/4. That's very unlikely if they're not a musician, but they will notice. They will notice that something is off, which is, you know, if you manage to package it in a good way, that will be really cool. That could set your music really apart from some other people. And now I want to go up because I have, of course, more time signatures lined up for you. And of course, for the people who joined in the meantime, if there are any questions or any comments, of course, drop them. Well, I also take a sip of water. It's getting warmer. It's starting to become summer, so stay hydrated. Okay, so here I have 7/4. 7/4 time signature. So probably after my first explanation, you're already guessing it. We have 7 beats, and 1 beat is 7 beats in a bar. 1 beat lasts the time of a quarter note. Ah, yes. The difference between 6/4 and 3/4. Because I did not write it down here, but that's so the thing is, the difference between 3/4 and 6/4 is the accent. So with 3/4 you have 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. So you notice, so you always have on the 1 you have this heavy moment or stress, as they. But on 6/4 you have on the 1, of course, a stress like I did with the 3/4. But with 6/4, you also have a stress, but it's less on the 4. So it would be like you'd also count in 6/8 in a way. That would be 1 2 4 5. 1 2 4 5. So that 4 is it's more emphasis than the 5 and the 6, or as the 2 and the 3, as you might have noticed. But the 1 is the strongest. So with 3/4, you just have only on the 1 you have a heavy moment, the most accentuated moment. So just let me know if that answered your question, or if you have any additional questions. I'll keep my eye on the chat here, right now and then. So with 7/4, we have. Again, we need to divide this. When we're dealing with 7 beats in a bar, you want to have certain groups, because otherwise it's going to sound monotonous and not so musical. So in this case, in this example here, and this is also quite a traditional way of doing it, I divided it into a group of 3 quarter notes, and then 2, and then 2. So it is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So if I would just play that, yeah, you're welcome. So if I would play that, and I'm going to count until first I'm going to count the groupings like I have them here, and then I'm going to count them just from 1 to 7. So and again, of course, the same chord progression. So it is 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. So now if I would count it from 1 to 7, I just need to focus a little bit for doing. And I'll put the stress on which beats are. So the accent is on beat 1, 4, and 6. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 4 5 6 7 1 2. See, but it's a little bit more difficult to count like this from 1 to 7. So that's why I always prefer, if I have a very clear grouping like I have here, I just prefer to, I know I have to have 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. It's just easier to count. It makes it flow a little bit. And also with 7/4, we can switch it around, like I did with the 5/4. We're not stuck to this pattern of first 3 beats, then 2, then 2. But you can also do it in this pattern. Actually, you see it more often than the first one. Now I just did it like this. Now we have 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and maybe you will have a question now. So what's the difference? Because maybe between this one and that one, maybe when you're listening, you'll mix them up. But that's not the case, because again, it has to do with stressing, emphasizing the first beat. So for example, here you stress with the first example, you stress the first beat, and then in that group you have 3 beats. So you have 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2. So the 1 is always the strongest. So now if I compare it to the other grouping that I showed you here we have 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. So you notice the difference between how I did it here. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Sorry, 1 2 1 2 1 2. So if I play it on guitar, I'm going to play the second grouping now. So it would be like this. Just let me focus. 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. So now just quickly with my first example again. 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. Okay. Just let me see. That's probably in my settings here. Just let me quickly adjust that. Thanks for telling me, because I have a noise gate on it to so that my the noise from my computer ventilator does not go through. It should be better now. Please feel okay to interrupt me again when this happens, just because otherwise I'm only talking to myself if you guys don't hear it, and that's not the point. So just if there was a big thing that was missing, let me know, because then I'll skip back just a bit. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to my next example of 7/4. So just let me know if the guitar comes through again. If everything is okay, I'll try to. So I'll play again. Let me know if it comes through, yes or no. So because now I'm keeping my eye on the chat, so that's why I'm not looking your way. It should come through now, I think. Okay, great, super. Okay, then let me, if my story about my first example of the 7/4, okay, super. If the story about about the 7/4 is clear, or maybe if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to continue with another example of 7/4, but now I played around a bit. I was a little bit more creative with the grouping. So what I did here was, as already, all of them, I gave them a name also. So I play around with the rhythm a bit. So instead of having these like set groups of 1 2 3 1 2 1 2, now I'm going to strum it also, the guitar. And my rhythm is now so the rhythm, let me open the next bar up for you so I can show you how I changed the rhythm. So instead of having your traditional way of opening up a 7/4, what I did was, here I have a dotted quarter note, so that means we have 3 8 notes, And then I made another dotted quarter note, which again are 3/8 notes. And then I made a half note here, so that's 2 beats, so 1, 2, and then 2 separate beats. So what that will sound like is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you see you have the bam, 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 da, da, ba, ba, ba. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you see now I'm already a bit more creative than the example here above, huh? So this already starts to feel like, yeah. I mean, for me, when I was writing this example, I also see that the screen is not sometimes blocking the example, or my camera. But actually, when I was writing this example, when I was writing this rhythm, it already inspired me. Just this rhythm, you know, the feel to it. It was so you can experiment the same with 5/4 in this kind of way, yeah? With dotted quarter notes and stuff. So let me play it one more time. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's quite, you know, that's really, for me, these kind of groupings are very inspiring because you can feel how the rhythm rolls forward, so to speak. You know, you can really feel the movement in them instead of, you know, 4/4, which is always very squared. You know, 4/4 time signatures does not have that much. It has movement in it, but not that much as this. So this, I really find these to be very, very inspiring to play along with. And now I come to another one, which I wrote down here. And this is 9/8, 9/8 time signature. And 9/8 is a little bit of an oddball, so to speak, because it occurs quite a lot in classical music. We have 9/8 quite a bit. Let's say, like, for example, that piece from Wagner. That is also in 9/8. So in classical music, this has been used quite a lot, 9/8 time signature, but they divide it in such a way that you have, which is called a compound time signature. And what you do is they divide it in 3 groups, as you can see here also how I did it. It's divided into 3 groups, but 3 groups of 3/8 notes. So if I would open up one of these rests here, you see we have 3/8 notes going on, but we have the emphasis on 1, 2, 3. So if I would play this example here, and I'll leave this one open, so just so you can see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can even count it like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you see, this is actually a very traditional way of doing it, because you can also see it as, and maybe now I'm getting a little bit too advanced, but you can also actually see it as 3/4. Well, thanks for joining in any case. If you have any additional questions, ask them. And you can also ask, of course, questions when I finish with the examples of the class that I prepared. Then also there's time for questions from your side. If you're working on something, or if you have any theory questions that you want answered. But how how maybe I'm getting too advanced when I say this, but 9/8 you can also approach it as being 3/4, but you play 3/4. You play every quarter note in triplets. So then you have 1, 2, 3, 2, 2. So actually, that's quite the same. So that's why 9/8 is a bit of an oddball. And here I divide it in a traditional way and just how I played it. So you have, but you always count it as 1, 2, 3. So you always count in groups of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, da 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 ya da 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 da. So again, I'll play 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is quite a smooth time signature, but it's not that used that much in pop music. But the classical music, you'll see it, especially in the classical music from before, let's say 1850, something like this. So now we're going to get to the interesting part of 9/8, because we don't have to divide it into equal groups of 3. Like we did with the 7/4 and with the 5/8, we can actually play with the grouping, and that's the whole idea. So in this example that you see here, I divided the 9/8 into 4 groups, but of course they cannot be equal. So what I did was I divided 9/8 into 3 groups of 2/8 notes and 1 group of 3/8 notes. So you have, if I would count it, it would be like this: 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And if I go with my mouse to circle where I am, so it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And of course, I can play around with this. I can also play, because the only thing that makes this one different is, of course, these 3 notes here at the end. These 3/8 notes. I can also play with where I'm going to place this dotted quarter note. I can also place it here, let's say on the second beat. So now, then we would have, let me just quickly write it for you so it's visually clear. There we go. I'm going to do it like this here. Now we would have this 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So you see, it's also quite easy to get mixed up, especially if the music is really fast. It's very easy to get lost. So you really need to emphasize that first, the downbeat. If you don't do that, you're gonna get lost, or you need to count the song until the end, which is kind of tiring, but that's an option. But so, for example, now I'm going to play how I had it in my original example. So so it would be like this. And again, let me know, of course, if the guitar does not come through properly. We have now 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And especially if it goes fast, the music, then you get into this kind of style that they have in the Balkan area, like the Macedonian music or Bulgarian music. Actually, then you get into this style like da 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 da. So that's it's very active. It's very interesting music. So if you ever get the chance to check it out, I would advise you to do so. Rhythmically, it's very challenging. But there's another way how we can approach this 9/8. And I already showed you with the 5/4. Of course, not everybody was here yet then, but I can show you how I also did it with the 5/4. I just need to quickly see if my screen looks okay. If I'm not blocking the chords, yeah. So you can also approach 9/8 as a 4/4, but with an extra eighth note added. And that's, I showed it here how it would look with the rests again. So you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So, and I prefer to count it like this. I prefer to count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. So this extra beat, I just call it 1 again, because I find it a bit tiring to, especially if you need to count all the way to 9, that would be a bit strange. Ah, yes, well, it is a complex way, yeah, it is, and it, you know, we're getting more into the field of like fusion music and more progressive rock and this kind of stuff. They use this a lot. So maybe this is a bit too much for today, but you know, I thought anyway I'd throw it in because it's interesting. And of course there are even more time signatures that we could talk about, but this one is the last one for my class about odd time signatures. But yeah, it can be quite tricky, this one. That's correct. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. Let me play it like this. I also need to practice this because I don't do this. I don't use this every day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2. So it's like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see, so you get this. Let me see if I can strum it. So you get this very like da 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. So you always get this kind of sharp attack. You always get this because it's very cut off. Actually, it's not cut off, but you have something extra added. So you know your rhythm. It's always like jumping on one leg, so to speak, and that can be very interesting, especially for if the drummer plays around with this a bit. But it's not for your everyday pop tune. That's definitely true. But so that's what I wanted to say actually about these time signatures, and I had left these bars open for some questions from your side. So if you have any questions, drop them here, or any. I saw some questions under previous videos of mine. So if you have them, you can drop them below. And I just will quickly look at my notes, see if I did not forget to say anything. Because I can imagine maybe if there's a question, so what's the difference between 5/4 and, let me go to the 5/4, which I have here. I can imagine if you have a question between about what's the difference between 5/4 time signature and 5/8, which would be a very valid question. The difference between 5/4 and 5/8 is that let me go back here because I want to make a new sheet here, or at least some new bars, I mean. So in 5/4, mainly what the difference is the tempo. So that's first I need to change it into 5/4. Let me do it like this. And for anybody who wants to know what software this is MuseScore. And here I'm going to add 5/8 time signature, but I don't see it in my regular group, so I'm going to make a new time signature here. 5/8 notes. There we go. And it should be added now. See you next time. Thank you for joining. And The next one will be in 2 weeks again, and I'll let you know on the community page on my YouTube channel what the topic will be about. And of course, let me know then if you have any questions that you want to know. So thank you for joining, and good luck with the online classes. I hope they are inspiring. Here we go. So here we have a 5/4, a 5/8. So of course, first of all, the most obvious thing is that in a 5/8 time signature, we have 5 notes, we have 5 beats, and 1 beat lasts an 8th note. So that's of course the most obvious difference between 5/4 and 5/8, because 5/4 we have 5 beats of and 1 beat lasts a quarter note. But another thing what we need to talk about is when the difference between a 5/8 and a 5/4 is that although of course I'm grouping a 5/4 into, let's say, 2 groups. Chromatic, yes, yeah, I will get to just let me finish my thought here, and I'll explain that to you. So in 5/4, although I do divide it into 2 groups, as you saw before, although I do divide it into, let's say, 1 group of 3 beats and 1 group of 2, but the thing is, every beat here counts. So it's like 1, but on a 5/8 time signature, they're called compound time signatures because we count them into here. We count them into, and I need to choose my words carefully. We count them into 2 groups. So these 8th notes, as I did with the 9/8, for example, the 9/8 you count them in 1, 2, 3. But every beat of 1, 2, 3 has 3 8th notes under it. So you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3. And with 5/8, it's also like this. So we have this one has 2 beats under it, beneath it, and this one has 3 beats as a hierarchy under it. And you don't do it with 5/4. With 5/4, you count all the quarter notes equally, although you do group them, but you group them less as you would do here in 5/8. So I'm also making an episode about odd time signatures, and I will give some examples in that also. I'll try to answer that question then a little bit more thoroughly. Okay, so now to your question about chromatic line cliches. I need to see, let me add some more bars. And actually, chromatic line cliches, you hear them everywhere, so probably everybody is familiar with them. And I just, in the meantime, also need to take a sip of water. And just let me think about the chord progression that you want to do, that I want to show. The most important thing about line cliches, chromatic line cliches, is that you have 1 chord, let's say A minor. Just need to see where I'm going to play it. Here. And what I'm going to do while I'm playing, my bass note is going to I'm going to lower 1 note. So what I'm doing here is, let me see if I can show this. Let's see if I can show this here. So what I'm doing is, for example, with an A minor chord, just need to see how I can show this. So you will not, I'm not sure if you hear the sound because I don't have my headphones on. But so with a line cliche, so this is our A minor chord. And let me add some more bars so we have room to go down. I'm going to copy this. And with what you do now, you're just going to lower this, the root note, what I did in this case. I lowered the root note chromatically by half a step. So what you heard me play was this. Oh, but I still played the root note. So let me see if I can add another bar below. No, I will add another voice. I'll make this voice 2, so that will stay the same. There we go. Okay, so this note stays the same. So now I'm going to play my first progression here. I'm going to play this one. I'm going to lower this with a half step, a chromatic step. So now you get this chord, which is quite a dissonant chord by itself. But because you have this very stepwise progression, you don't focus on the dissonance of this chord, because your ear is only listening to this chromatic line going down. So if I continue this, and I'm also copying the chord name, but it's not an A minor anymore. So you know, this, if you'd have to give this a name, actually I need to do this. You'd have a strange name, strange chord. Here we have now it turned into an A minor 7, for example. So now I'm playing, I'm lowering that chromatic line even further down. So this is the A minor 7. This is that chord that we're on. So now I can even lower this chromatic line even further. Let's do that. Let me first write it for you. So, but now we're going to get, oh, it's still in the key of, I need to change the key also. There we go. Yeah, see, it's incorrect. There we go. Sorry, I missed that. We had some sharps and flats, sharps at the beginning of the key. Okay, so I lower this even more with one more chromatic step. And now the chord will sound like this. It will be like this. Let me just close that window. So if I'll play the chord that let me play that line cliche again. Sorry. So now you have this chord, half diminished. And I can go even further, and can even lower it further. So that's a line cliche. And I can show you another line cliche if you like, which is this. Let me create a new one. And again, I'm going to start on A minor because it's just easier, because we don't have any sharps or flats. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see. Oh no, wait, I'm going to start on C actually, sorry. I'm going to start on C major. So you have C, E, G. That's our chord. And let me raise that an octave and put another C below it, because that's going to be... no, actually, I don't want that. Sorry. Don't want to confuse you. Okay, so another line cliche that we can do is, and it's a bit of a shorter one, but it is a line cliche. So here we have the C, and I'm going to go to a next chord. I'm going to make this C, I'm going to make it into an augmented chord. So this is the original C. Yes, chromatic. Well, chromatic in general means that they're half steps, and when a note is not part of the key, you need to alter these notes. So you need to change these notes chromatically. So that's where it comes from. For example, if your piece of music is completely in the key of C major, then it would be diatonic, because it does not have any chromaticism in it, in that sense that you adjust notes. So let me know if I answered your question okay, if that was clear. So I'm going to write down now what I did, actually, because this is a chord, chord that you probably have heard in many pop songs. And I'm only changing one note. I'm only chromatically changing one note. And that's, in this case, the G. So what is non-diatonic? Well, non-diatonic is when it is outside of the key. For example, in C major, you have all your regular chords of C, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, etc. So everything is within the key. And when it is non-diatonic, that means that you need to adjust notes that are not part of the key. So for example, if we're in the key of C major, the key of C major has no sharps or flats by itself. So by altering this note, and I need to also put a plus behind it. So by altering this note, this becomes a non-diatonic chord, because it's not normally part of the C major key. So what I did here is I made this one into an augmented chord, but this one wants to go somewhere, this chord, of course. So if I want to finish the line cliche, it would be like this. Or I could finish the line cliche like this. So the line cliche that we have is this. So you hear that? It's every time it's ascending with half a step. Let me write the last chord that I played here. So that chromatic line just keeps on going upwards into an F chord. So here we start again once more, just to quickly finish it. So and try to listen to this chromatic line. See if you can hear it back in the chord progression. And you can even go up further, of course. But that's even a different line cliche. But this one has been used in so many songs, this one that I just played. And it actually sounds quite nice also. So actually I like that one a lot. And the one that I just played to you is actually very, is also quite... the one that I've just played to you, the other line cliche. Here the line cliche is this. So see if you can listen, if you can hear it. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's quite a pop classic, so to speak. So you see, I'm only adjusting constantly one note, and every time just a half step down, and that's why it's called a line cliche, because skilled listeners and even everybody who listens to the music will hear that line going down. And why is it a cliche? Because, well, a cliche, that's what the word cliche means. It's been used a lot through and through, which doesn't mean that it's bad, of course, but what it does mean is that it is quite you'll see it a lot. So also some listeners, if you play this kind of line cliche progression, some kind of some people might find it boring because you do exactly what they're expecting. So the test is, or the your goal as a songwriter or a composer or a producer is, of course, to create these expectations of this kind of a line cliche, but maybe end the line cliche before you reach your end goal, you know, that goal that everybody will like expect to hear. And that might set the listeners off, and then you can create some you can create some new energy, so to speak. And I see some more people joined. I don't know, because I'm about to round the live stream off. I'm in the sense of that I'm through my material, and if there are no new questions for now, so I'll just, there's a bit of a delay, so I'll just wait until some of the new people who joined, if they have any new questions. What do you mean? What notes should you play over it? When you're soloing, you mean? Or when you're singing, or what? In what context exactly? So, because there's a little bit of a delay, I'll already start answering the question how I think you probably asked it. A line cliche is always in a certain key. So, for example, that one of the line cliches that I just played to you, the one in A minor, the one that I started with, this one. This one is in the key of A minor. So what you can do, because your bass chord, your root chord, that the whole thing is based on, is A minor. So you can, in this case, you can always play the A minor pentatonic scale, for example. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, for example, what you could do is like the pentatonic scale. You could do that. Or you can just stick to notes of the A minor scale. So then that would be diatonic. But of course, you need to watch out that, for example, when you're, I'm going to zoom in on this one here, that if you're going to play notes of the A minor scale on this one here, then you do need to watch out for that G sharp, because if in your solo you're going to play a G natural while in the chord there's a G sharp, that might sound a bit out of place. There might be a bit of a friction there, and a friction that you don't want. So, but in general, you can play a minor pentatonic scale, and of course, you can always play the notes that are part of the chord. So, for example, you can also always arpeggiate the notes of this chord. So I always go for that. I always go for either notes that are part of the chord themselves or part of the chord extension. Or I play a minor pentatonic scale on top of it, which is always, for guitarists, that's like a safe haven, so to speak. Or you need to watch the alterations, of course, and make a mix between, like in this case, make a mix between the A minor chord, and then when the harmony goes to a different chord, you also switch with your solo to this chord. So I think that's the most important thing to watch for. So let me see. I think that will most likely cover it for today. If that question is answered, let me put my guitar away. So in any case, let me switch to full screen mode. Let me see if it's done. Yes. So in any case, this was also the class about odd time signatures, and there will also be a movie about this. I'll make a video about odd time signatures, and which will be out probably this Tuesday or Thursday. And if in the meantime you have any extra questions, of course, you're welcome. You're most welcome. And if in the meantime you have any extra questions, drop them below and I can take them to the next live stream. Or it's best, of course, if you ask them during the live stream, because sometimes I might forget the questions. The next one will be in 2 weeks, and I'll let you know what the topic will be about. And of course, we need to close every stream in style. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you for joining me today. And for now, see you next time.